Determinants of operant conditioning. In previous video, we have learned that operant or instrumental conditioning is a form of learning in which behavior is learned, maintained, or changed through its consequences. In this video, we will be learning the determinants of operant conditioning. Before going to the details, please remember to subscribe the channel and please do watch other videos in this channel. And do share it with students and those who love learning psychology. Thank you. Factors influencing the operant conditioning. Reinforcement is not necessarily a straightforward process, and there are a number of factors that can influence how quickly and how well new things are learned. Skinner, he found that when and how often behaviors were reinforced played a role in the speed and strength of acquisition. In other words, the timing and frequency of reinforcement influenced how new behaviors were learned and how the old behaviors were modified. The various factors include rate of reinforcement, that is, how often the reinforcement occurs. Then the response requirement, how many responses it takes to earn a reinforcer. Then the reinforcer delay, the amount of time that elapses between the operant response and the reinforcement. We will see this in detail. The features that determine the effectiveness of operant conditioning are: first one is time interval. The time interval between the response and the stimulus. It should be short rather than long. Shorter the interval between the response and its consequences, the more efficient is operant learning. In the reinforcement or the punishment, if it follows the response immediately, then learning is more quick and efficient. The delayed reinforcement or punishment retards the learning. Then second is shaping and chaining. For example, monkey riding a bicycle in the circus. They are learned by a process termed as shaping. The shaping is based on the principle that a little learning can lead to final mastery. In shaping, each small step that the organism makes to reach the goal is reinforced rather than only the final response. So, in each step, it is reinforced. This is done by the method of successive approximations. The third is primary and secondary reinforcement. The primary reinforcers satisfy our innate biological need. The organism does not require training to respond to them. For example, the food for hungry, water for the thirsty, etc. For this, these are biological needs and we are satisfied with the reinforcement we get. Then secondary reinforcer. The example is when a dancer, when she is praised or given some amount for her excellent performance, the probability that she will dance well in future, the chance is increased. So with the praise and the amount or the reinforcement we have given, the probability that she will dance well in future is increased. So that is secondary reinforcer. Then fourth is schedules of reinforcement, and the fifth one is phenomena of extinction, generalization and discrimination. Both these we will see in the coming slide. Reinforcement schedules. Skinner identified several different schedules of reinforcement that impact the operant conditioning process. First one is continuous reinforcement. Here, reward is given after each correct action. It sounds like a great option in theory, but it rarely makes sense practically. For example, giving your child ice cream every time they did their homework might make them sick. Second is fixed ratio schedules. Here, every n response is rewarded and the n remains constant. For example, if you were to get rupees 10,000 bonus for every 10 sales you close, then you would be operating on a fixed ratio reinforcement schedule. This schedule can be effective for learning new behavior, but motivation tends to slow after the reinforcement is distributed. Next is fixed interval schedules. Here, the timing of the reward is fixed. It might occur after every fifth correct response. For example, if you were to give your teenager the keys to the car at 5 p.m. every day, provided that he should get all of their homework done for the weekend, then it is a fixed interval reinforcement. That is, you have promised the teenager to give the car keys, but they need to complete the homework by 5 p.m. Here, the subjects are likely to perform the behavior closest to the time when the reinforcement is distributed. That is, your teenager is likely to rush through their homework starting at 4:30. So by the time 5, they will finish their homework and they will get the car keys. Then variable ratio schedules. Every nth response is reinforced, but the value varies around an average number n. For example, gambling. It is the most classic example of this type of reinforcement. Maybe you win the jackpot after one turn at the slot machine, or 50 or 500 or 5,000 turns. After you win the jackpot, that number will change. Then variable interval schedules. The time interval varies from instance to instance around some average value. For example, a quiz or a surprise visit from the health inspector. Both are examples of variable interval reinforcements. If the subject has performed the behavior, that is studying or keeping the restaurant clean, when the time comes, they will receive reinforcement and will over time be encouraged to continue the performing that behavior. So these are reinforcement schedules. Finally, extinction, generalization, and discrimination. The operant response also undergoes extinction when the reinforcement no longer follows the response. If reinforcement is no longer given after the rat has learned the lever pressing response, the tendency to press the lever gradually weakens. Over a period of time, the response extinguishes and it is not shown. Then generalization. Once the response is acquired to a particular stimulus, the organism shows a similar response to a similar stimulus. Pigeons were reinforced for pecking at the disc of a particular color. The pigeons also pecked the discs that are close in color to the original disc. This phenomenon is known as generalization. And discrimination. It is the process of responding in the presence of one stimulus and not responding in its absence, or in the presence of another stimulus. After the rat has learned to press the lever, suppose a light is turned on. The rat is rewarded when it presses the lever in the presence of light, and the lever pressing response is not rewarded in the absence of light. Here, light is the signal that tells whether the lever pressing will bring reward or not, and light is the discriminative stimulus. Now let's have a quick recap on what we have learned. We have learned the factors influencing the operant conditioning and the features that determines the effectiveness of operant conditioning, like the time interval, shaping and chaining, primary and secondary reinforcement, schedules of reinforcement, and the phenomena of extinction, generalization, and discrimination. Operant conditioning is especially useful in education and work. But if you understand the basic principle, you can use them to achieve your personal habit goals. Reinforcement and the reinforcement schedules are crucial to using operant conditioning successfully. Positive and negative punishment decreases the unwanted behavior, but the effects are not long-lasting and can cause harm. The positive and negative reinforcers increase the desired behavior and are usually the best approach. Hope you like this video. Please like, share and subscribe. Thank you and keep smiling.